Entertalk Radio, you're in to all things music.
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Happy Friday, everybody. You are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. I am Scott, your host, and a man who definitely is not named Steve. I'll let you think about that for a minute. And with me, as always, is Paul B, down at the big studios in San Diego, Entertalk Central. How's it going in the heat today, Paul? How's it going?
Swing.
He's hanging in there.
I was going with the whole Garth thing.
I like it. Have you heard about the viral video with the guy named Steve?
No, I was wondering what.
Have you heard about that?
Not
yet?
Not Steve. No. What's that about?
Yeah, it's you should definitely Google it. It's really funny. It's a goofy animation. It's this musician that created this animation. It's got like over 1 million views of it. He created this little goofy animation, and it just it's not about anything in particular, but it's catchy. He writes a couple of these little there's a couple little music pieces in there that he writes that are funny, but they're very catchy too. So anyway, that's why it's got 1 million. That's got 1 million views. Check it out, and it's something called, I think you could just Google guy named Steve, and then he says several times in the video that his name is not Steve, and so then I kind of had that on my mind. So I was like, well, fine, not Steve then. It's very fun. So. How was your 4th, man? Did you have a good time?
Yeah, pretty good. I actually gigged a ton over the weekend, going into the 4th,
right.
like three days in a row. So a lot of playing, a lot of music. It was pretty fun.
Very cool. Like block parties and stuff, like private parties, or more like bars?
A wedding and a couple of bars. Yeah.
Nice.
We have
do you play the chicken dance?
No chicken dance. I do. My little dance that I do is we do Cupid Shuffle, which apparently is still people still love it, and they do the dance. And
they love that song.
They love it, and there's really no guitar parts in it, so I just kind of go chicka chicka, and they do the little dance in my 1.5 square feet of space that I have to move around in.
Nice. So you can actually do the Cupid Shuffle dance?
No, not really. It's just that they say go to the right, I go to the right. They say go to the left, I go to the left, and then I just spin around or something. I don't know.
It's like a modern day hokey pokey, to be honest.
Yeah, that's it. You're right.
They say put your right hand in, put your left hand out.
It amazes me.
The Cupid Shuffle is a fascinating phenomenon. It's really interesting. We played on set breaks for 5 South, and people still just they love to dance with each other and do a simple dance where they're giving instruction.
We had the whole place hopping. This was at the Whiskey Girl downtown in San Diego. A pretty big, nice. big spot. There was on the weekend of July 4th, it was like packed to the gills, and we had like the whole place was doing the dance. It was nuts. It amazes me how long lasting those like dance craze songs. They just don't die. Like go. You could do Cupid Shuffle, go back to the Macarena, go all the way back to like the Electric Slide, and the one. What did you mention before?
The chicken dance is what I mentioned, but that's very old.
No. There was another one. I keep breaking heart. Yeah, I don't know. Those things just last forever. It's crazy. People love them. I don't.
Yeah, they do. That's a good set break song. We're like, they're like, hey, could you play Cupid Shuffle? And we're like, on the set break, we'll just play that. We'll loop that thing for you. Enjoy. We'll go get a beer, and we would just loop that Cupid Shuffle. You can just dance. Fun. Because you're right, there's not a lot of traditional instrumentation in the thing. That kind of thing. So,
yeah, not really. Just a guitar, drum and bass, pretty much. I've been kind of doing the bass part on guitar with like a octave effect on it that made it sound kind of cool. So I do something. But next time I'll take your advice, and I'll just head off and get a beer. That sounds
there
like
you
a
go.
plan.
Set break. You're like, hey, we have these kind of songs for the set break. I'm just saying. Well, good then. So shall we get into some marketing and communications then? If you have a question for me, you can always email me at scott@robertsoncom2ms.com, and I will answer anything on the show. And also you can find my stuff, a lot of client news clips that I'm out there placing and posting and stuff out on the Robertson Com Facebook page at RobertsonCom, or on Twitter, not surprisingly, at RobertsonCom, 2Ms like communications. My job and mission in life is basically to entertain you and give you a few tips on how to do this marketing stuff as well. Now, you are tuned into episode 58 of the big, massive program, and I entitled this episode "Just Because You Can." And I've talked about this a few times on the show, but I thought I would dedicate just a show about it because I'm noticing that some folks in the marketing space are starting to get it and starting to talk about it a little bit more, and I want to amplify that as much as possible. And as many of us doing it the right way is going to minimize people doing it the wrong way, which is going to help everybody. So that's the plan. In the movie Jurassic Park, Jeff Goldblum plays a character named Dr. Ian Malcolm, and he says a lot of funny things in the movie. But one of the most profound things he says. He makes a miraculous observation, and he says, he's talking to the owner of the theme park, Jurassic Park, and the first one, he says, your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could make dinosaurs that they didn't stop to think if they should. And today I want to spend a lot of time in the show, in the educational part of the show today, talking about the difference between can and should. And it's really important, if you're making dinosaurs. And it's equally important in marketing and communications. So, we're going to go deep in the jungle here and what I like to call Jurassic Park logic. I've coined that term and used it a lot. I've used it for probably going on, 10 years now when it comes to marketing. And there's the reason I want to make it sounds like common sense. And people say, oh, yeah, well, that makes a lot of sense. It is uncommon, is what I will tell you, because I don't see it. There's no evidence that common sense is in use in the world today, and so there needs to be a lot more of us, stop saying, yeah, that just sounds really obvious, and start actually doing it. Because again, the point of this program, the point of my marketing practice is hopefully to show a better path to almost everything that we do in marketing. And, everything you do in marketing is a bit of a risk, right? And of course, in this episode, we're also going to look at who's winning and losing. And we're going to dig in for the ultimate fight for business survival. So we're going behind the Jurassic Park logic gates and figure this stuff out. So let's dig into it. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Marketing back in the day used to cost more money than it does now, especially there was more of an upfront investment. You used to have to invest resources. You used to have to say, oh, if we're going to mail something, then we have to get that designed and printed and mailed, and there was cost associated with that. If we had to purchase advertising, we had to, work. We had to work either in-house or with an agency and do some creative and create advertising, which had a cost to it. And then we had to buy the media time, and that had a cost to it as well. And I think it was sort of around this time, you didn't have as much stupidity that was just blatant in marketing, because when there's skin in the game, when you are paying for things, it forces a decision process of, should we? What are we getting out of this? But somewhere along the advent, the invention of email and online digital marketing and all these things that we torture people with today, the perception became for a lot of business owners that marketing was free. Now, today, guess what? Marketing is free. And you can buy a list of 100,000, 100 million people, and you can just blast. Go enjoy the blasting. That is a problem. That is a big problem in marketing. In fact, I believe that future generations, we're kind of too close to it here in 2017, but I believe that in probably 20, 30 years, you'll see future scholars look at this as sort of when marketing started to really have problems in terms of its trustworthiness. When it suddenly became more rampant and quote unquote easier to do and free, and desktop publishing was open and anybody could design their own website and anybody could design their own stuff, and you can buy logos on Fiverr, for $10 or whatever, then everybody kind of started to become a marketing expert. Here is the problem. To be an expert in marketing, you have to study. You have to study stuff. There's a lot of education that comes with it. There's a lot of sort of keys to the kingdom, sort of like being an expert in the law or being an expert in medicine or being an expert in, telecommunications. It is not something that everyone can just pop out of their day job and go, and now I'm a marketer. It's like you're a crappy marketer because you didn't earn it. Just like Jeff Goldblum said in the movie Jurassic Park, having the ability to do something without the discipline of having earned it is dangerous. It's very dangerous because you've lost respect for what it took to get there. And I think it's true in a lot of things. I think the reason that we go through some of the trials that we do in education, the reason that we suffer through high school and college and graduate school and in continuing courses and all these kind of things is because that's the way that we as professionals in this marketing thing earn it. That's the way we understand what is the right thing to do and what is the wrong thing to do. And people who have a passing knowledge of marketing and like to judge commercials from the Super Bowl, for example, but have no freaking idea what marketing is and wouldn't know it if it punched them in the face, but suddenly those people are making marketing decisions. And again, they're inflicting all of their trauma and marketing stuff out into the world, right? So this is why I care. This is why you should care. This is why the profession should care, because with every telemarketing call, with every spam email, with everything like that, we lose a little bit more trust. Our profession loses a little bit more. We lose a little bit more every single time that happens. And there is a point where we're going to talk about trust later in winning and losing. And wait till you see what's going on with trust. Believe you me, you can't take trust for granted, people. You can't take trust. It's not a well that just keeps going forever. Other people's irresponsible choices can impact you. I start so many of my new business conversations with companies, and they tell me, and it's like, who done you wrong? It's like, well, I hired this agency, and they took all my money, and they didn't give me any results, and they told me they were going to do this, and they told me they were going to do this, and I just, and I listen to it, and I'm like, I understand that. I'm sorry that they hurt you. That's not me. That's not how I practice. That's not what we're talking about here. And, there's not much you could say after that other than, I'm sorry. I apologize on behalf of the profession that happened to you, but, it shouldn't have. I will submit to you, so we talked about sort of when the perception of marketing becoming free started to become more pervasive, and certainly today. I have people tell me that today. I was talking with a startup company, and they're like, well, marketing's basically free, so we could just do whatever we want on social media, and that's just basically free marketing. Wrong answer. Marketing is not free. And I don't mean just paying a consultant or paying a firm or anything else. I mean that marketing costs you something. Your credibility, your reputation, your very relationships with the customers you're trying to reach are on the line every single time you decide to communicate. It is not a decision that you should weigh lightly. It is absolutely not something that you should go, oh, you know what? It's it's Friday. I think we should send out 100,000 emails because you're going to send out 99,999 emails, and those people are going to hate you. And those people are, if it's untargeted, they may hate you. You run a risk. Marketing is not free. You are putting something on the line every time you make the decision to communicate. I don't think enough of us understand that. I really don't. Having worked in-house at in communications departments, having worked at agencies, with big names that you would absolutely recognize. I'm telling you right now that the thought process of, hey, should we do this, doesn't come up nearly as much as it should. It really doesn't. I saw something this week from a great prophet in sort of new marketing, Seth Godin. I quote him a lot, and he wrote this literally in his blog this week. The title is "Just Because You Can Doesn't Mean You Should." Here's what he says: "It might mean a market you can enter, but it doesn't mean it will reward your time and effort. It might be an all-you-can-eat situation, but there's a difference between all you can eat and all you care to eat. You might be kindly invited to participate, to weigh in, or to engage, but that doesn't require you to change your priorities, to engage the important for the urgent." And that's a Stephen Covey reference, right? Talking about the priorities of time management. And all of them are right. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. Here's Seth saying it. I've been saying it for years. He's been saying it for years. Do you know what's missing in all of this? What is our guiding light that gets us through? Just because you can doesn't mean you should. To me, I think it's empathy. Gary Vaynerchuk says this about empathy this week in his blog. First of all, the title of the blog is "Put Yourself in Your Customer's Shoes," and it's about sales reps and how many sales reps get it wrong. But what he really means is, sales reps and the marketing profession. Here's what he says. So as I sit here and think, I come to the incredible realization that empathy always wins, that doing the right thing is always the right thing, that deep down what's driving me is not the dollars, but the impact. And I'm going to go much more in depth about that part of my truth. It really matters to me. We need to be empathetic. I know how you want it to be. I know that when you're hitting me up for 15 minutes of my time, I know what you want out of it. But what do I want out of it? What do I get out of it? How am I getting value? This is very, very important what he says here too. I check my wants and needs at the door when I go into sales mode, and that's the polar opposite of how most salespeople and most marketing people roll. And then he says that's why I win. This is our guiding light, marketing profession. Empathy is our savior. Empathy is the thing that allows us to be able to say, just because we can doesn't mean we should, because these people are busy and maybe they don't care, or maybe these aren't the right people. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. We're talking about it today on May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Radio. Come on back. We're going to talk about who's winning and who's losing.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Entertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on EnterTalkRadio.com.
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Happy Friday, everybody. You are back for segment 2 of May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. And I'm Scott, and we're talking about just because you can doesn't mean you should. How you doing, Paul? You having fun so far?
Yep. I'm happy it's Friday.
It's all good?
Yeah. This is a long 3 days. It's too much week for me.
You got to put in, that's a whole 72 hours of work right there.
A Wednesday and a Thursday and a Friday. Come on.
And a Friday. Come on. That's too much. I think the government should do something about that, honestly.
I know.
Well, let's dig into, speaking of just because you can doesn't mean you should. Well, here's one that's winning, and I mentioned this at the top of the show. There is a YouTuber and a musician named Bill Wirtz, and he's created just a really interesting, goofy video about the fact that about a man named Steve, about a man named not Steve. That it's really trending on Reddit's r/videos subreddit, and it's racked up about 1 million views in just a day. You owe it to yourself to check it out. It's really, I find myself singing the little stupid songs that are in this video. I've only watched it a couple of times, and I find myself singing the songs, and it's like it's applicable in your life. Trust me, you will enjoy it. So I'm gonna put musician Bill Wirtz in winning. I don't know Bill, but I say Bill, you're winning. That's awesome. It's rocking. You know what else is winning is radio. Radio is winning, people. Now, radio is more popular in the United States than you might expect. So, as smart devices become more and more ubiquitous, the need for traditional platforms like linear cable TV seems to only lessen. But radio reaches more Americans each week than any other media platform, according to a recent Nielsen report charted by Statista. Roughly 228 million adults in the United States listen to some form of radio at least once a week in the fourth quarter of 2016. That is 93% of the United States adult population. And the figure is growing, which is just fascinating. Got to say that's fascinating. So radio is growing. TV had the second farthest reach at 89, followed by smartphones at, what would you think? 83%. The PC and the tablet were far behind at 50% and 37%, respectively. So just when you kind of think you know everything about marketing, you check out some data and you're like, wow, looky. People are actually listening to the radio more than anything. 93% of the U.S. adult population. Anyway, I find that kind of stuff fascinating as somebody who makes marketing and media decisions based on data and not like subjectivity. I think that is a study that's worth checking out. Check out the Nielsen report when you get a chance, but I'm going to put radio in winning for right now. Love it. Let's see who else is winning. I don't know if this is winning or losing, but QVC, the home shopping people, are going to acquire their rival home shopping network, HSN, for more than $2 billion. So longtime rivals, QVC and Home Shopping Network, are going to merge as the two retailers that are kind of built around cable TV adapt to a world where impulse buying and video watching is moving to smartphones. So they're famous for pitching things like the George Foreman grill, the Miracle Mop, things like that. And they're going to merge and combine in an all-stock transaction, which is going to be valued at $2.1 billion with a B dollars. So, well, let's put them in. I mean, if you like to shop with QVC and HSN, I think I don't know if you're winning or losing. You're getting a competitor that's probably going to be around a little longer, even in the face of competitive stuff, in the mobile world that they're facing. But maybe your choices just got limited to one and used to have two, as opposed to the as seen on TV stuff, I guess. But anyway, that's what's happening with QVC and HSN. Who's winning is the United States economy. U.S. consumer spending is near a 9-year high in June at 100 and daily self-reports of spending average $103 in June. So the Americans spending $103 per day is how that comes out to. And it's the highest level reported since 2008, when spending averaged less than that. So really interesting. Definitely check that out if you get a chance. Gallup did a study, and they pushed it to a lot of different news outlets this week. But you know what's interesting about that to me is that, I always think the economy is sort of driven by perception. And I've always sort of had the theory that if there's a bunch of bad news in the media everywhere else and you can't ignore it, then people are going to hold on to their money. And when they hold on to the money, it sort of becomes a self-fulfilling truth that, I believe in the theory of a media-based recession is possible. In other words, it's not based on anything real. It's just based on people hanging onto their money because they're scared that something real might be happening. And if that's true, the really interesting part is that the opposite is true. That as more people feel positively about the economy, the more that they will spend, and the higher level of spending you'll have, and you'll have the flywheel turn in the other direction. So I had often thought that one of the best things that the United States government could do would just be to pump out information about how great the economy is, no matter how it's really going. Who gives a crap how the the gross domestic product of the United States of America is a number that is so far beyond most Americans' reach. You can't even begin to fathom how much actual money it would look like, right? So who cares? So what I would say is just pump a bunch of positive information out there, and it will pretty much always be positive. The minute you start, usually around election years, they start talking about how bad the economy is. People start hanging on to their money, and you have a bing, bang, boom recession. So anyway, I just want to throw that out there and just say the fact that we should all be celebrating the fact that consumer spending is really, really high right now. It's at a 9-year high right now. Kind of interesting. Let's talk about trust. A new poll from NPR and PBS NewsHour finds that more Americans trust the White House, Donald Trump, than the media. 37% of those polled said they trust the Trump administration, compared to 30% for the media and 29% for Congress. Wow. So pretty decent sample size. It's 1,200, and the survey was conducted in late June. Now, this is fascinating. As people who watch the trust needle spin, right? We talked about media and trust numbers being down, making some really freaky choices in an election year, and continuing to make some really weird choices that show nothing but bias and destroy credibility. Absolutely. But the highest trust needle in this survey is the White House, right? And most of the communication from the White House is very direct. It comes from Donald Trump's personal Twitter account, which is really fascinating from a communication standpoint. And it's very unvarnished. If you don't follow the president on Twitter, you never quite know what you're going to get there, honestly. It could be like, I had a bad sandwich and this person should be put to death for the bad sandwich. It's like, you never quite know. But one thing that you can't accuse Donald Trump of, it's probably the most transparent, and also it terrifies people because it's so transparent. But it's the most transparent, communication flow between the American people and their president that probably has ever existed. There's no way that anyone from a current political system would ever do it this way. They would have somebody like me. They would have somebody, they would have a corporate communications person there making sure everything was said correctly and all this kind of thing. But you got to think maybe that approach is a little long in the tooth, right? Because now, as the poll is showing, more Americans trust the direct approach, as wacky as it is, than they trust, the more polished approach of the news media and, things like that. And 29% for Congress, right? Which is, that's just crazy. I think that's just kind of a crazy, crazy thing, I don't know where we put that in winning or losing or what, but use it however you want in your communication practice. It's definitely interesting to watch trust. Remember, we talk about when you communicate, you got a risk. There's always a risk in communication. There's also rewards, apparently. And trust is going to be that reward. So anyway, there you go for that story. I found this story horrifying. There is a governor of Maine, Paul LePage, and he suggested on Thursday that he actually makes up stories with the intent to mislead the media. Here's the man's quote, Governor of Maine, ladies and gentlemen. He says, I just love to sit in my office and make up ways so they'll write these stupid stories because they are so stupid. It's awful. LePage told WGAN-AM. The Republican governor was speaking about the state government's recent 3-day shutdown, and his officer described the report as fake news, and he said, shame on them, they're so bad. Well, you shouldn't make up stories that are intentionally false to mislead the media. That's not good. It would be a more positive and proactive approach for the governor to work with his media there in the state, and set up some guidelines, call each other on stuff, something, rather than doing that. There's probably no good that's going to ever come of that whole thing. So anyway, I'm going to put that in losing, and also in your category of things you should never do is making up stories with the intent to mislead the media. First of all, we always think of the media as like this big faceless, corporation or whatever, but those are people with jobs, and, you don't want to waste people's time out there. That's not a good idea. So anyway, as angry as you might be with them, a more constructive dialogue might be to, sit down with everybody and start talking about what you don't like and, what they could do better, those kind of things. We're going to put that in losing. All the technology billionaires in the world are launching a campaign to rescue the Democratic Party. LinkedIn founder Reid Hoffman and Zynga co-founder Mark Pincus have teamed up in a new effort to reinvent the Democratic Party following Hillary Clinton's devastating loss in the 2016 presidential election. The initiative, which is called Win the Future, which is abbreviated WTF, aims to revamp politics by modernizing candidates, fortifying voter engagement, and involving Americans in the political process by crowdsourcing a political agenda on social media. Should we start with the name? I think we should start with the name. So WTF means something very different in the modern day kind of social media vernacular. And if anybody would know that, it would certainly be technology billionaires, right? They work in technology. I'm guessing that is probably done by intent. I can't imagine why you would do that. It's not, WTF is seldom used in a positive context. So if you're gonna tie your brand to that which means something entirely different, right? I can't imagine that being a thing that works out for you. That is dumb. That is really dumb. So, also revamping politics, from the technology sector is admirable, but they probably don't know anything about politics, and that system defies all logic. So people that work in a logical business will be really frustrated working in something like Washington, which has its own sort of rhythm and that kind of thing. So I would say change the name, big time, change the name, and maybe dial back on the hype that's going on. They do have some serious people involved in this, including, they've got Jeff Katzenberg, from Disney, and Zachary Bogue, Melissa Mayer from Yahoo's husband, and people like that, founders. Just kind of interesting. What's interesting is that, Stephen Jenkins from Third Eye Blind, he is basically one of the top candidates to make a run as, with some sort of political bent, which is kind of interesting. Third Eye Blind, But anyway, there's your music news for today. I don't know what that is, winning or losing. I think that's losing. It's definitely losing for the name. I would definitely say that. My goodness. Can't escape politics this week. CNN, just, man, I can't imagine stepping in it any more than CNN. Only United Airlines, I think, steps in it more than CNN this year. Oh, and by the way, just one quick losing thing. I saw that United Airlines had another oversold situation where they a mom had a seat for her and a toddler, and then they took the seat back, even though she paid for it, and basically gave it to a standby customer, so that person wouldn't be ticked off or whatever. And then the mom had to hold the toddler on her lap for like 3 hours, right? Remember all that talk, in the JetBlue thing, like 10, 15 years ago, where they said there was like a passenger's bill of rights, and it's like we can't leave passengers on the plane for 8 hours with only like a bag full of peanuts to sustain them and that sort of thing. And it had all that kind of funny stuff. It really seems to me, and I am not an expert on the airline industry. I don't work for you morons, but all you morons out there in the airline industry should listen up hard right here. You got problems. You're a monopoly now, but you might not be. And people will bail on you like your business was on fire because they hate you so much for doing things like this. Your public relations is the worst I've ever seen in my entire career. And I'm counting like third world governments and, alongside you guys. You're awful. Your policies are awful. You continue to make the same mistake over and over again, which means that you are really stupid, and don't have any idea how to run a business, okay? And just from, public relations practitioner with 27 years of professional marketing communications experience talking to you right now, stop it. You're terrible. You're running terrible businesses. You're messing with people. And the minute that you're no longer a monopoly, you're gonna get replaced, and you're gonna go out of business like incredibly quickly, because marketing's about relationships, and you are doing your best to destroy those relationships on a common basis. But anyway, I wanted to get to the CNN story. So CNN has been slammed over threatening a Reddit user who created that funny Trump meme about him kicking CNN's butt or whatever. So news outlet, news network is starting to, they track down this Reddit user, and now they're threatening this person with all sorts of different action. We're going to expose you. We're going to do this. Do better, CNN. Do better. You're supposed to be a beacon of truth and journalism in the world. You're a beacon of bullshit, and you got to do better. That's who's winning and losing. And for this episode of May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. Come on back, and I'm going to give you my list of marketing shoulds. See ya.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Entertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on EntertalkRadio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Ahhh DiMeola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Happy Friday, everybody. You are tuned to segment 3 of May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. I am still Scott, not Steve, like the viral video. And we just did a whole big batch of winning and losing and winning. And Paul B., what do you like from this week's batch of insanity?
Well, I got to say I'm a little skeptical about those Nielsen radio statistics. First of all, it's a little hard to believe the numbers. Second, I don't know what they're defining as adults. And finally, and most importantly, who has Nielsen boxes in their radios? Where how are they extrapolating this information?
Yeah, absolutely. Check out this. Check out the report. The report is kind of interesting. It comes from. It came out from. There's an organization called Statista that they do statistics and they crunch numbers. That's all they do. So the report, the data comes from Nielsen's comparable metrics report, but the driving force behind the study is also Business Insider and Statista. So check them out. That radio is way up there.
Pretty surprising,
says, very surprising. Believe me, I never would have guessed that. I never would have guessed that they're higher than TV and the highest, especially. So kind of fascinating story. That's why we bring you those kind of stories so that you can kind of challenge those things in the next meeting when people are like, everybody's watching their smartphones now and nobody's listening to the radio. And you're like, well, I'm sure that is a happy theory, but the data, according to good old Statista, will take us in a different direction, actually.
Good to know.
Fun stuff, man. Fun stuff. Well, this episode we are talking about just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. In the first part, we, really started talking about kind of the freeness of marketing, or the perception that marketing is free, really being a big driving factor to, this belief that if a little bit of marketing is a good thing, then a whole truckload must be that much better. And again, it always kind of reminds me of the fable of the goose that laid the golden egg, right? It's like the farmer was, got this magical goose, and it would lay one golden egg, per day, right? And then the farmer does what a human being would do and gets greedy and says, well, I'll just cut that sucker open and get all the golden eggs out, and then I'll just have them all, right? And that kind of thing. That's the exact same mindset that says if we're sending out, one email a week and we're getting, a 20% open rate and like a 5%, click-through rate, then let's go ahead and send out 10 emails a week, because then we'll have more clicks, right? It's like, just like the farmer, you're going to find that cutting open the goose just means that you sort of cut your own throat, So think about that. The thinking part of marketing is really important when it comes to things like that. So in this segment, I always like to leave you guys with a few things that you can use and a few fun things that you that kind of tie to the theme. So this episode we're talking about just because you can doesn't mean you should. So I thought I might give you a list of things that you definitely should do. Things that you can do and you should do. You absolutely should do. Number one is sort of base your marketing experiments out there on research. Research, data. I'm a big fan of research and data. It always makes you smarter. It always makes you better. There are a lot of things that we kind of think we know are true, and then they just complete smoke, and they're completely false, right? And I mean, in everything in life, not just in marketing communications, but base your stuff in marketing around solid research. Take the time, do the research, do the listening, do the work. It's really, really, really important to do that. It's a big time should. a lot of the things that we see play out in the losing category on this show could easily be interrupted at the research stage. Data will guide you. It will guide you, and it can guide you to some amazing breakthrough stuff. I have friends in marketing that say, research is boring, man, and nobody has time. Everybody's got to move fast. Nobody has time to research. We don't have time to do a 1 month research project because, man, we got to get this press release out. We got to get these things. We got to launch. We got to get some funding. We got to get these things done. Slow down, Trigger. What you need to do is know what you're doing, right? I'm getting ready to do a cross-country road trip with my son in August, right? If we just got in the car and started driving, obviously without a smartphone, let's say with that, if we just went driving and just started with maybe like a compass and said, okay, we're going east. Let's go, baby. We're going east. Come on. We would have a hard time navigating through and figuring out how to do this. We plan the route first, the exact route, exactly what freeways we're going to take, exactly where we're going to, disengage. It's really, really important before you take a trip like that you know where you're going, what you're doing, and also, not to sound too incredibly anal about the whole thing, but I have contingency plans just in case. So if if one of the roads we're driving on suddenly isn't operational for any reason or whatever, I have 2 other ones I can take. Do that in your marketing. It will help you sleep so much easier at night. Always have a backup plan. PR people are taught to think in contingencies. If you are talking to us about a plan, you can bet your butt that we have 2 other plans that we don't tell you about that are to in case of emergency, break glass kind of things, because we're just taught to do that. We're brought up that way. We are taught to have backup plans and backups for that. Very, very important. But always base your stuff on really good research, really good data. That's your first should. Your second one is, man, use that research to design a great message. There are so few things out in the world that have a great message that you can link into, that you can tell stories around, that you can, find a way to make them, funny or, compassionate or heroic or, or anything. Make sure that your message, is definitely about them. As we always talk about, make it about them. And we talked about that guiding light principle that's so important about empathy. We talked about that, right? So make sure when you're designing your message that it's really, 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 really about them, and that it's really, really great. You should be excited about, if you put yourself in their position, you should be so excited about the message because you're like, wait, this is going to be so great for me, as them. This is going to be so great for them. And so I'm excited about that. I'm excited about delivering something to them that they want. Very much in the same way that a band is excited to deliver a set of music that the crowd wants. We get that same, sort of excitement. So spend enough time, do your important due diligence, around designing a truly great message. That's a big should. And man, it is not done enough. I talk about it all the time on this show, but I just see it everywhere. I'm going to Summer NAMM next week. There are probably 10 messages that are designed to those specifications on the show floor. And the rest of them are just, hey, but it does this. Hey, but look what this does. Hey, but it's just like they're surface level features and benefits kind of stuff that is nothing that you can grab onto, So there's probably 10 companies that have a great message. So why not be number 11? That's what I say. Let's start small. Let's get it to 11. Let's get it to 12. Let's get it to where people start to understand what this marketing and branding stuff can really do and what it's really about. And then it's going to be a lot better. Okay, let's go to should number 3. definitely execute, but properly. Your marketing list should never be a list of stuff. It should be everything on there with a great amount of thought, a great amount of empathy, a great amount of respect. I always said, two things that are important in marketing that are incredibly important in designing a marketing approach: trust and respect for the audience. If you have trust and respect for the audience, you don't telemarket. Why? Because you trust that your solution is going to be found by them. You trust that your product or service is going to be found by them. And you trust them to make the right decision because you've based it around their needs and something real. Respect, because you realize that nobody likes telemarketing calls. And your hate index triples when you suddenly get a telemarketing call. Nothing positive happens on a telemarketing call. I am dumbfounded at the people out there that are still doing telemarketing calls. What is the matter with you? Do you care so little about your brand that you are willing to put it in front of people who hate you when they answer the phone? What's the matter with you? What are you trying to do? That's what I'll say. Trust and respect the audience. It goes a long way. Also, if you trust and respect the audience, let's do a few things. If you trust and respect the audience, do you send them out multiple emails about buying a product? You don't. No, you trust, and they're gonna find it. You respect their privacy. You expect them to make the right decision. That kind of thing. Do you telemarket to people? You do not. Do you send out direct mail? Maybe you do. Maybe you do. Maybe it's really, really great. Maybe we spent a lot more time on it. We made something that was really great, really useful, really important, in their lives. Maybe it is a great deal. Maybe in these kind of things, but maybe we spend enough time on it to where we're giving them something really, really useful that they're going to hang on to. Do we create advertising? Maybe we do. I could definitely see it. Understanding that advertising is going to have more of a supporting role in the mix these days. It really is. It's not going to have that lead character role that it once had. Are we going to send out press releases? Yeah, probably. When we have news, we're not going to send them out. If we don't have news, because that's not being trustful and respectful of the media audience, we're not going to waste anybody's time with any kind of fake stuff. We're not going to, drum stuff up that isn't real, that kind of thing. Are we going to hold events? Maybe we are. I could see it. Obviously we're going to, but obviously with that trust and respect, that empathy rule, we're going to do it at a time and a place that's convenient for our audience. We're going to do it in a time that trusts them to show up, that gives them something, incredible that they're going to want to go do and drive them, that kind of thing. Trust and respect. Use it as a filter for everything you do in marketing. There couldn't be anything better to base your entire marketing philosophy around than the idea of empathy for the audience and trust and respect for the audience. Incidentally, you employers out there, I had a 100% retention rate in the public relations when I worked in the agency side. I was able to hold on to 100% of my employees. Do you know how I did that? Trust and respect, right? I don't do any baby time stuff. I don't do any micromanaging stuff. People don't like that. People come to companies to grow. If you give, as Dale Carnegie says, if you give people a fine reputation to live up to, they will never disappoint you. Give people a fine reputation. If you come out the other way, this could be true of employment, this could be true of parenting, this could be true of anything else. When you don't trust and respect someone, they're going to push back at you. They're going to do stuff and push back at you and be defiant and do all these other things. But if you trust and respect them, even when you don't have any reason to, we could get into the whole thing of, trust is earned. And then once you've done these 10 things on the list, you've earned my trust. Bull crap. What you just, trust is not earned, by the way. That is a psychological lie that you're telling yourself. There's no empirical data that says that trust is earned. What you're saying is that your trust is earned based on an imaginary list that you may or may not have communicated to somebody at some point. And I always, and as a supervisor, I was always careful to do this. If Football's a good example of this. You ever see a wide receiver go out and, big game football, drops the pass, right? What does the coach almost always do in the next play? He throws back to the same receiver, puts him back in the game, puts in the same receiver. Why? Why is that? Because it's really, really important for that receiver to feel trusted, to have confidence and feel trusted. It works on the sports field. It works, trust is a big thing. It's a really big thing. It's a thing we're trying to get from our audiences, but it's a thing that we give away, by the way, and we should give away, and the same thing for respect. These kind of things that the audience is really, like I said, they're really going to go a long way. The fourth thing that you want to make sure is on your should list, measure. Make sure that you're measuring. Really, really important. You want to measure what's working out there. You need to know. You absolutely need to know. If you're an agency, you need to be able to put metrics in front of your clients that say, this is what we did for you, and this is what we think it did for your business. Let's have a conversation about it. Did it drive sales for you? Was this valuable for you? Because we're not tied to these tactics. We can pull out and we can do other tactics and other stuff. We want to do stuff that works. That is the game. That is what we're trying to do. And it's just really, really important. You'd be amazed at how many big companies in the music industry and in the technology industry don't measure at all. And I ask them, I say, well, what's going on, with your PR? Oh, we got to book a clips and it's nice and that kind of thing. And I'm like, no. What's going on with your PR means how many people are we reaching? What percentage of the sentiment is positive? What are we doing to build relationships out there? Measure. And number 5 of your should list is make changes. You don't want to repeat things unless the data says to repeat. That makes you more of a marketing scientist. I always talk about marketing being part art, part science. Very important. It's very important to be able to make changes and make sure that you should be making changes. Absolutely. So what have we learned today? Making dinosaurs and making marketing are both really fun and exciting. Both require, more than just creativity. They require judgment. Marketing pros should be asking themselves daily, yes, we can do this, but should we? The difference between can and should is often the difference between winning and losing. It's the difference between staying in business and bankruptcy. Make the right choice for your company or the companies you serve. If we start doing that, there is hope for this profession maybe not going extinct. Rock on, marketing fans. Until next week, this has been Scott Robertson, host of May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. Have a great weekend. We'll see you in a couple weeks. I'm going to Summer NAMM next week. Later. Bye.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Entertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Ahhh, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?